I'd like to introduce now Duncan Hill. Duncan's been employed with the VFA for 15 years. After beginning his career on private fish hatcheries, he joined us at Snobs Creek. He's since had roles with freshwater fisheries management, recreational fishing improvements, fisheries compliance, boating, and most recently he's the senior project manager responsible for the $15 million of work that's going into Snobs Creek and Arcadia, funded by the Victorian government. And I was thinking about this the other day because, I got to sign off this work, and when you sign off big contracts, you hope you've got good people who are committed to delivering on that sort of obligation. And in Duncan, I think we've got that person, and we've got support people as well that have got right behind this capital works. And it's a huge thing. If you get an opportunity when we've finished construction to have a look at what's being achieved in these hatcheries, it will inspire you if you're a fisher person. Duncan's going to be talking about Victoria's record investment in the future of native fish through the expansion of these hatcheries. Please welcome Duncan.
Rightio. Thanks, everyone. As Gus said, Duncan Hill. I work for the VFA, and like most VFA employees, I reckon I've got the best job getting around. Particularly at this stage, what we're seeing at the moment is the biggest investment, I guess, in fish production the state's ever seen, probably since Snobs Creek was first created back or first developed back in the 1950s, so last century. I might start spinning through the slide deck. Oh no, I can do that myself. So my talk today is primarily on the Arcadia and Snobs Creek hatchery expansions, Australia's largest investment into native fish. And here's a little saying that I like to go with: building the best hatcheries to grow the best fish and build world-class recreational fishing experiences. Which is a bit of a mouthful, but basically saying we want to build the best hatcheries, grow the best fish, make it the world's best fisheries, which we think we're almost there. So as Gus said, what we've got out of the last state election is a $15 million commitment to expand our two big fish hatcheries at Arcadia and Snobs Creek. The purpose is to increase the capacity at these hatcheries, with a particular focus on Murray cod, golden perch, Macquarie perch and trout cod. Where are our fish hatcheries? Many people here would know where they are, but for those that don't, we've got one about 5 or 10 minutes away at Arcadia, just outside Shepparton, and we've got another one at Snobs Creek. This is you can see at the top there, that's Kyella, that's Shepparton at the northern end or the top of the page, and this is where our property is, our current Arcadia native fish hatchery. So that was purchased back in 2020, 2021, and Anthony Forster and Steve Vidler led the construction and the redevelopment of this ex-dairy farm. So this stage one involved a lengthy search in trying to find the right sort of facility to grow warm water native species, and they decided on this one up here at Arcadia. And the stage one production, or the stage one construction, consisted of 10 brood ponds, which are the ones at the top. I wonder if I can get this pointer to work. No, I won't even try that. And 20 plankton ponds and a water reuse storage. And you can see down here on the bottom right, that's with them full of water. Snobs Creek is right at the bottom of the Eildon Pondage, between Eildon and Thornton. You can see it just here. There's Snobs Creek, which runs down the sort of the right-hand boundary, and that feeds the fish hatchery there. So water comes in the top, and it basically cascades down through Snobs Creek and back down to the Goulburn, which meanders down the bottom of the slide there. Both two completely different hatcheries. Snobs Creek is typically a cooler climate, cooler water, so much better suited to trout and salmon, which it was originally built for, but also our cooler water natives like Macquarie perch and trout cod. Arcadia, on the other hand, is more of a warm, well, you can see outside today, a warmer climate, much better suited to cod and yellows and those sort of things. So Snobs Creek started out pretty humble beginnings. You can see there, as I said, started out, and apologies to everyone who's already seen these, but this is back, I guess, in the 50s, so you can see a horse and cart there. There were cars around there, of course, but just to show it was a long time ago. and a fairly rudimentary setup then, primarily built for salmonids, so trout and salmon. Then over the years, more investment, it grew a bit. You can see some raceways down the bottom there being built. The overhead power lines going through there from the power station at Eildon. And then what we have today, so you can see, dominated, I guess this image is dominated by the raceways where we grow our salmon and trout. But you can see some of those brood ponds there, the big dams there, they're where we keep our brood fish. So what are we doing at Snobs Creek? What's the next few years going to see at Snobs Creek? Or the next year or so, I should say. We're well developed already, or well along. We're constructing a dedicated Macquarie Perch captive breeding centre, which is really exciting, and supporting infrastructure to assist with that. And once completed, that breeding centre will be capable of producing up to 500,000 Macquarie Perch and trout cod annually for stocking into Victorian waterways. So the idea behind this is to get these fish back, recover these fish back to numbers where they'll become recreational species again. This is the artist's impression. Excuse the helicopters and seagulls. I don't know where they came from, but this is what the building will look like. Of more interest, I guess, is the internal bit. So Macquarie Perch and trout cod are, well, we know a lot about breeding golden perch and Murray cod and trout and salmon. We don't know as much about trout cod and Macquarie Perch. So the idea behind this one is what we want to create here is a facility where we can control every aspect of the fish's life. So from the water temperature to the light, the oxygen levels, the pH, everything. It's a completely sealed building where we can manipulate, in different areas of the building, we can manipulate different water temperatures, so we can induce fish to spawn at different times. We can create the ideal environment to grow the larvae, that sort of thing, and produce, hopefully, the greatest number of fish that are robust enough to survive in the wild. A little fly around, this one makes me a bit seasick. But you can see, I guess, we've got 150,000 litres worth of water there. We're just going to zoom in here, I reckon. This is the Macquarie Perch. This will become the Macquarie Perch breeding area. Incubation room over here. What we've got is, a lot of pipe work. So what would replicate different types of water temperatures and stuff. We've got some trout cod areas here. This is a very quick one, sorry. Beauty. I'll move on now to Arcadia, which is probably a little bit more interesting for the cod fishers here. What are we doing there? So we're tripling its size and we're creating the biggest native fish hatchery of its kind in the world. Huge. Capable of producing over 6 million fish each year, and we think that's probably pretty conservative. We're increasing the number of production ponds from 30 to over 100. We're creating a series of water reuse storages to manage excess water, expanding the footprint of the existing hatchery building and fish processing facilities, and building a new office and admin building. Now, some of you might know what production ponds are and plankton ponds, but for those that don't, I'm going to go a couple of videos here just to give everyone a bit of a refresher on how we actually grow fish or grow cod. What's the process that we go through? So what we start off with is brood fish, really important, and we've got some brood ponds over here. So in terms of size, these are typically about just under 2 megalitres each, so almost the size of an Olympic swimming pool. And what goes into each of these brood ponds, they're about 3 metres deep, and they typically get 10 pairs, so up to 20 mature Murray cod. So these could be anywhere up to sort of 10 kilos in size. I think Taylor might have been talking before, one of the other presenters, that optimum size fish where it produces the maximum number of eggs that are the most viable eggs. Yeah, so what we try and do is get the best fish in there. There's one of our technicians, James, he's a local guy, releasing some fish there. What we do with the brood ponds is we put these nesting boxes just here in the picture in there, and Chris will explain in the video, but essentially what we're trying to do is replicate the wild, so a hollow log on a riverbank, or within the river, I should say, where cod or trout cod or whatever it may be, go in there and spawn. So I'll let him talk.
Hi everyone, Chris from Snobs Creek here. We're just going to go and have a look at our nesting boxes. We're only 2 weeks off getting these out into the brood ponds. So we're waiting for 16 degrees. We're at 13 at the moment, so we're getting very close. So in the next 2 weeks, I reckon we're going to be putting these out into ponds. You'll see here we have 3 different styles. These smaller ones are for our smaller trout cod that are around 35 centimetres, just a bit smaller. These simulate a log. So you see it's black plastic lined, and inside we'll take one apart in a minute. We've got fly wire on the inside. So the female will go into that box, she'll lay her eggs, the male will come in, fertilise, and then the male will sit there protecting the eggs and fanning them. This is a larger hexagonal one, so we do use these for Murray cod and trout cod. So I'm just going to quickly take one apart. You see we've got a float here, it's just so we can actually locate the box. Just rip these off, and then the black plastic gets taken off. You see the fly wire around there? Yeah, so they're all aluminium, and then this is just a it's fiberglass fly wire. And then if we want to remove the eggs from the pond, we just remove these, and then take the fly wire and we'll take them back to the incubator room at the hatchery, and yeah, that's where the process begins.
Great. So you saw then that's the nesting boxes that we put in the brood ponds. The next one I'm going to show you is the next stage. So you would have seen the little video in there. So I think it was the female going into the box to begin the spawning process. Here's a bit more of the spawning process at Arcadia. Again, you can see the brood ponds in the background. They've got paddle wheels in them to keep it oxygenated all the time. I'll let them do the talk.
Mid-spring, temperature perfect, building weather, upcoming full moon, nesting boxes in, and big cod extremely active tonight. It's all happening.
Last night we had a lot of spawning action around this nesting box. Joe's just having a look at it now. It would appear that we've got a significant spawn in there. Another beautiful spawn. I'll jump in and give him a hand. Now we're going to go nice and quick up onto the buggy. Got to strip off the layers that we don't need.
Start with black plastic.
Yep, black plastic. Drop that down. Oop. We're going to go up nice and quick so we don't get any temperature loss on the eggs. And now we'll take them up to the hatchery to do our processing and assess the eggs. So at the moment we're just cutting off the excess fly screen, and then we'll go through and we'll get a number of eggs that are on here, as well as the fertility to the eggs, and then we'll use our template and work out roughly how many we've got in here. I'd say at least 50,000 on that. We've got approximately 10,000 eggs on this sheet. Now we're going to hang them in the incubators, and then we've got about 9 days until they hatch. And we'll try and keep them nice and clean in here. Get the temperatures right, get the pHs right. And we'll see little babies in 9 days.
Beauty. So special thanks to Lauren Hall, who you'll see floating around here from Comms. She made these short videos, which are great sort of little snapshots on how we do our fish production. So at the end of that short reel, then you would have seen, so the eggs went into these incubators on the left-hand side, and what they'll do is they'll spend 1 to 2 weeks, depends a bit on water temperature, so the warmer the water, the faster they hatch, but essentially it's about up to 2 weeks they'll spend in the incubators, and they'll pop out of those little pipes into the baskets you'll see there, and they're so small, the larvae, they can barely, they can swim, but not very well, so they sit in that basket there, and they're siphoned out into these troughs. And what we do is we keep them in the troughs for about another 2 to 3 weeks, and we let them sort of, what they'll do is they'll have a yolk sac, which they'll live off for a while, and then they'll start feeding themselves. And we feed them, it's Artemia, so sea monkeys, and they're quite small. G'day.
How do you know the eggs have been fertilised?
So what they do is they take a sample of the eggs once they come in, and they're able to look at them under the microscope and work.
Taking them out of the dam.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the right way to go, though, is it?
Well, no, it works all right though. We're doing a few. I'll tell you more. Bear with me. And then, so yeah, we have a little larvae, so they'll feed here, and then they'll reach a point where I guess their mouths are too big for the Artemia, so they're spending too much time trying to eat small stuff. So what we do then is we move them out into these plankton ponds. And so remember the plankton ponds, it's important for the next part of the talk, but these are bigger, shallower dams. So you'll see a paddle wheel in there. So whereas the brood ponds were about 3 metres, up to 3 metres deep, so quite deep and cool, These are shallow, 1.5 metres or so, and the idea here is what we want to do is we fertilise them at the start with it's pretty much like a standard agricultural fertiliser, add water, add heat, add oxygen, and what it does is it blooms. Like you would have seen dams that turn green, that sort of thing. That's what we're after. The green is the phytoplankton. What follows the phytoplankton are these little suckers here, which are zooplankton. They're things like water fleas, daphnia, rotifers, small little invertebrates and copepods, those sort of things. But great tucker for Murray cod larvae. So these ponds are jam-packed with these, completely loaded. Then these are our larvae that we've got just out of the hatchery, so you can see that they're almost fully formed now. You can see the skeleton or the spine, you can see the mouth, the head, the eyes, the organs, all those sort of things. They're basically put into this all-you-can-eat buffet. So this is Jared, one of our staff at Arcadia, releasing some of the fish in. So they're put in there then, and for 3 weeks, eat as much as they want, as hard as they want, grow as quickly as they can. And they go from something about the size, half the size of your fingernail, to something about the size of your little finger. One of the things when Anthony Forster built this property, one of the things that he did, he wanted to ensure that where we could, we would avoid touching fish, so netting fish, if you will. We all know, as you're all fishers, the least time that they spend out of the water, the better. The least touching and scale rubbing and that sort of thing we can avoid, the better, absolutely. So what we have is, in the middle of our property, we have a harvest station, which is essentially about 3 or 4 metres beneath the surface. And all the plankton ponds where our little fish are drain into here. So it's literally like in a bath. Pull the plug, whoosh, all the water goes down. And it comes down into this area here and it gets stuck in these bins. So the fish will go into these bins. Then we get our forklift. We take them from here to the left-hand side, which is a fish receival building. And that's where we take out, through the course of the plankton pond thing, you can imagine frogs and all sorts of things get in there. So there's tadpoles and there's other little back swimmers and all sorts of contaminants. So we take all those things out and we're left with that, which we stock. They go in the back of a truck and go around Victoria. So now we're reminded again what's plankton ponds and brood ponds and those sort of things. What are we building at Arcadia? So this is what we've got at the moment. So you can see where's my... Whoop. Wrong button. There we go. There it is. These are our brood ponds here. We've got 10 of them just there. And we've got 20 plankton ponds. What's that?
How do you keep the cormorants and pelicans from cleaning up all the...
That's a very important question.
That's what I reckon.
Scare them away.
It's a disaster.
Yep, no, the cormorants are an issue. Yeah, absolutely. Fish production is one of the biggest combination of measures, cormorant control, but I'll explain afterwards. Yeah, I didn't say the word. So we have, we're proposing to build 6 new 10 megalitre storages here. So what we've got over here, 50 megalitres in a dam there, combined with this will be 110 megalitres of storage. Then we're going to build, so we've got 10 brood ponds, we're going to build 10, 20, 30 more. So we talked before about brood fish, so 20 in each one. So you can imagine, I think that's 600 new brood fish are going to call this place home. Plankton ponds, another 20, another 25 there, 45, another harvest station, and then providing we've got a bit of cash, another 15 there. So that'll take another 60 plankton ponds. So each plankton pond produces on average 50,000 Murray cod each per year. And it's about twice that in terms of golden perch.
What about water rats?
Water rats get the same treatment as the shags. Gus is going to scare them off for me. Yeah, well, over their heads, of course. I spoke about the hatchery extension. So at the moment, we've got a great fish hatchery, a brilliant fish hatchery that was built in stage 1. We're doubling the size of it. So local contractors from Toolamba did this for us just recently. All finished. Beauty, so that's another one done. We're also building an office to keep our staff happy out there. At the moment, they're in a relief milker's house, so which is not, it's okay, but it's not ideal, so they're getting a new office. How much water will the new ponds hold? 50 Olympic-sized swimming pools, so 141 megalitres. How much material will be moved? We will have to top them up, absolutely. 185,000 cubic metres, which is about the same as 6,000 semi-trailer loads. And if you think about a ute's about half a cubic metre. So that's a lot of utes. How many metres of pipe are we going to lay? Trav said before, I should have worked this out. 9.7 kilometres of pipe will be laid along with 200 valves. I should have worked out the MCG circumference. But the important thing, as I was saying to a couple of people at lunchtime, after all the planning and stuff, wheels are turning, dirt's moving, we're underway at the moment. It's great. We've got big machinery out there. It's only going to get busier. And I guess just to finish with, what does the world's biggest Murray cod hatchery need? I hear you all ask. The world's biggest Murray cod. Thank you. So that's 200 Ross Road, Arcadia. So we've got some signs coming up in the next week or so. There's already some up, but I'd encourage anyone and everyone to get out there, get a photo with the giant cod. Free, open 24/7. Thank you. And I'll talk to you about the shags.